What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding of course. And today we're doing an isolated, specifically focused chest workout to fill out the chest completely. A lot of people love to do chest, love to start out with the bench press, and of course that is awesome, getting stronger in the bench press, that's what we all want. But every now and then you have to look at your body if your ambitions are to be a classic bodybuilder. You gotta objectively look at your physique and look at your weak points. Now for me it's the upper chest. For most people the upper chest is lacking actually, because most people like to start out with something like a regular dumbbell press or a regular bench press. So the difference here is that I'm starting out with an isolation movement. And you can see that this difference is that, first of all, only the chest muscle is working. The only joint that is moving is my shoulder, not the elbows. And I'm also under constant tension. This machine ensures of that. The dumbbell flies is an isolation exercise as well, but the machine pec deck flies, that is the best isolation movement in my opinion if you're looking for constant tension and the best pump. And if you notice, I'm sitting a little low on the seat. I wish I could go a little lower, but the thing doesn't go any lower. And my elbows are pretty high compared to how you are supposed to do it. And that is why, that's because actually, I want to target the upper pecs, because that's one of my weak points. And this is actually the last set to maximize the pump for the next exercise, because that will be the stretching exercise. But if you look closely, the upper pecs are contracting the most. Now you always contract the entire pecs, of course, the lower and the higher pecs, the upper pecs. But if you want to emphasize, if you want to stress, if you want to put more tension on the upper pecs, using a slightly different angle like this will cause that to happen and fill it with more blood. And trust me, you will notice. And now we have a very good pump in the chest, because we did 21s as the last set right there. And now we're doing the regular bench press. So it is still in the workout, of course. You don't want to neglect it. You don't want to just do machines. You don't want to just do isolation exercises. You want to keep the basics in there, but adjust the way that you do certain exercises in order to fix your weak points. Now I'm going quite heavy, quite fast on this one. Usually I have a lot of warming up sets, but it's not necessary now because we're already very warm from the previous exercise. But importantly here guys, especially now, is that you go all the way down. And you will notice that it's a little more difficult to go all the way down because of the pump in your chest. But this is the benefit. That's exactly what I mean with the better the pump, and the better the stretch, and the better the stretch, the more hypertrophy, the better the result. So you will actually feel the muscle pull and stretch a lot more at the bottom. Yeah, that is a special ritual when you're about to enter the final set of the bench press. This is 140 kilos. It's not very heavy to me, but because of the first exercise you will be fatigued already, and you will especially feel it during the last two sets. And I'm going beyond failure here. When I notice that I can't do another rep, all I do is do slow negatives downwards, because you still have some strength left in there, and let your spotter pull the weight up. And you will notice after this one that it'll get very heavy, and then you really need a spotter, because look at this. It's basically falling down, and that's when a spotter, a good spotter, counts. After finishing the regular bench press, it is time for another special exercise, but it's actually a very classic exercise done by all the guys in the golden era to improve the upper chest. And you can actually see, a lot of people think that on the bench press you cannot really contract the chest. That is wrong, because what you're seeing right here is the contraction of the pecs. But this is the guillotine bench press. And we all know what the guillotine is. It's the thing that in the medieval times chops off your head. And the barbell is the guillotine in this instance. So what you want to do is let the barbell drop down slowly, carefully, to your throat. A little below your throat. And you don't want to use a heavy weight. At least start out with half of your weight that you would normally start with on the bench press. Then very slowly go down to your throat, and you can see right here that the upper chest is really being targeted more than the lower chest. It's not a myth, it's not a fairy tale, it's really true. The stress and the tension on there is just a lot higher here. And you can see right there I made a mistake, and then you need a spotter as well. It was the last set basically. And then to finish off the chest portion of the workout, I like to focus again with an isolation movement on the upper chest. So we first did an isolation, then 2 compound movements to really put the chest under loads of tension, more load in terms of weight, and then do an isolation movement again. And I love this one, the low to high flies. They mimic the movement of the upper chest perfectly, so that upper chest will be targeted specifically during that exercise. And we all know that I love the pullover exercises. Normally I would do the dumbbell pullover, but this time it's time for the cable pullover. And this one is especially great here because you have a constant tension on the chest. It's easier to feel the chest because you just did an exercise for the upper chest and it's fully pumped. So during this exercise, which is difficult for most people, you can feel the presence of the pump in your chest, and it will be easier to actually contract it. So it's been a little over a month since the Arnold Classic, and I've been able to keep my shape, and I've actually been able to improve my shape a little bit in terms of fullness, and that is exactly what my goal was. The hardness, the dryness basically, is still there. It's still enough for a competition, but I managed to keep it more full because I made full use of the rebound effect after a competition, of which I will make a detailed video. But basically, when you diet for a long time, your body is a lot more susceptible to taking in carbohydrates, calories, protein, and basically keep it in the muscle because it wasn't used to it for a very long time. When you do it correctly, you can make use of it and stay like that permanently, at least for a very long time. This is the tricep movement. Right after the last chest exercise, we move over to the triceps. And I want to start out with a superset. And this is a very popular, very widely practiced superset for the triceps. First of all, the rope push down. And you can literally see that I contract the tricep at the bottom, especially the small head of the tricep, which is targeted here with the rope push down. And the way you contract it is you push outwards your wrists at the bottom and you automatically contract it. And then we superset that exercise with the overhead rope extension. And this one targets the long head of the tricep more. And why this combination is so great is that you first acquire a little bit of a pump during the first set of the superset, the rope pushdowns. And then the overhead exercise stretches out the triceps. So that is what I always say, combining a pump with a stretch is the best of both worlds. The pump, when you get a pump, it ensures, it tells you that you have been contracting the muscle properly. So you got the contraction part right. And when you have a pump, you will definitely get the stretch part right, because the stretch part will be felt a lot better because of the pump. So that is an amazing combination. And when doing this overhead exercise, make sure that you go backwards at least until you feel that stretch. And when you push outwards, at least go as far until you feel the triceps contracting. A lot of people do this movement in short motions, but I don't like it, and it's not a full range of motion. If you want quality muscles, you gotta perform quality reps. And this is an exercise that I didn't used to do before a lot, but I've kind of started to implement it again because I've noticed great results and at least a great feeling with it doing it this way. And it's a small grip, close grip bench press, but it's not as close as most people hold the bar. I like to hold it just a little smaller, a little more narrow than shoulder width, instead of literally keeping my hands together in the middle. That is not good for your wrists, and you won't be able to go down all the way anyway. So, and you don't have to go heavy at all. It's all about feeling the triceps. And especially during this set, you can see, you gotta imagine pulling or pushing your elbows underneath the palm of your hand. And that automatically, as you can see, contracts and squeezes, activates the triceps. And this exercise is for the medial head of the tricep, which gives off the thickness of the tricep. So after this exercise, we basically hit the small head, the long head, and the medial head. And then we end off with the side lateral raise, and I choose to do a machine this time. It allows you to use more weight, yet keep correct form. Now, and as you can see, the traps are always a little involved during this exercise, but the bulk of the tension goes to the side delts, as you can see. I like to squeeze just for half a second at the top, making sure that I hit the side delts, making sure that the burn and the contraction happens there and not in the traps. A lot of people who go too heavy, too fast, feel it more in the traps. But yeah, because of the overload of the weight on this exercise, I like this machine a lot. Anyway guys, that was the workout for today. The rebound video is coming up soon. The ultimate diet video is coming up soon. Posing practice is coming up soon. And a lot more, guys. Q&As, etc. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to stay golden. What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding of course. And today we're doing an isolated, specifically focused chest workout to fill out the chest. Best isolation movement in my opinion if you're looking for constant tension and the best pump. And if you notice, I'm sitting a little low on the seat. I wish I could go a little lower, but the thing doesn't go any lower. And my elbows are pretty high compared to how you are supposed to do it. And that is why, that's because, and look at your weak points. Now for me, it's the upper chest. For most people, the upper chest is lacking actually, because most people like to start out with something like a regular dumbbell press or a regular bench press. So the difference here is that I'm starting out with an isolation movement. And you can see that this completely, a lot of people love to do chest, love to start out with the bench press, and of course that is awesome, getting stronger in the bench press, that's what we all want. But every now and then you have to look at your body. If your ambitions are to be a classic bodybuilder, you gotta objectively look at your physique. Difference is that, first of all, only the chest muscle is working. The only joint that is moving is my shoulder, not the elbows. And I'm also under constant tension. This machine ensures of that. The dumbbell flies is an isolation exercise as well, but the machine pec deck flies, that is the